Hey guys, welcome into our first podcast. Today is Thursday, March 2nd, 2023. I am one of your hosts, Andrew Marshall with MHC Realty, and here is my partner in crime. I'll let him introduce himself.
Hi guys, I'm Rick.Gillespie. I'm with HomeBridge Financial doing home mortgages in the Boise area.
Awesome. And so we are hoping that this is one of many podcasts in this series that we'll be doing to kind of help you guys walk through the ins and outs of what it takes to either buy or sell a house in this kind of crazy time that we're in. We really wanted to be able to speak to different ways that you guys out there can succeed and allow us to help you kind of through that process and give you better peace of mind of what's going on right now. And so today, kind of just wanted to talk to you guys about different ways to kind of counter back to, the interest rates. As you guys all know, everybody's kind of talking about that right now. And not a lot of people are very happy about it. And so, we basically just kind of brainstormed and thought what better way to bring this news and advice to you guys than by doing this podcast format. And so pretty much what I'll be doing today is asking Rick a couple different questions, getting advice from the source. He's an awesome area expert. He's pretty much lived here in Idaho his whole life. Seen a lot of changes. And because of that, he can speak really well to, what's happening currently, what he's seen in the past, how things differ now. And we were actually just talking about this the other day as far as the buy downs go.
Right.
He saw this actually a couple of years ago, and it worked really well back then. And it's kind of being resurfaced at this point to kind of help people be able to get into their dream house. And so, without further ado, we'll kind of get into that here. And so, Rick, I know just from what we've discussed, what is the number one thing you would recommend right now for somebody who might be having a little bit difficult time as far as, they think, I can't afford my monthly payment, because that's the first thing that people ask and want to know about is the monthly payment.
That's it.
And so, just kind of wanted to pick your brain and see what you thought about all that.
Yeah, it's interesting. I just had a client today that we were walking through a bunch of scenarios, and it really comes down to educating not just the person who wants to buy, but also the agent involved. Because you're nailing it. Affordability is just the big key thing, and there's two things driving that challenge in our area is obviously interest rates, which you brought up, and the price of homes, right?
Oh, yeah.
So here you go into a house and you're looking at it, and if we just do a regular deal, you make an offer, we do just a general kind of across the board interest rate, people are baffled at the oh my goodness, I got to pay, $2,600 a month to get into a house, right?
Yep.
So
it adds up pretty quick.
Pretty quick no from two standpoints. It is either going to not allow them to qualify because they don't have the income that actually can handle that payment, or it's just hard for them to stomach $2,600 a month.
Yeah, it's not very doable, especially if you're trying to save on the side.
Right,
So.
and if you're talking specifically about people who are a little bit younger and they're getting into their first home, that's a lot of money per month to ask them to come up with, right?
Especially with the price of everything else going up around them.
Well, that's a great point. With inflation and everything else, we hear it all the time. Groceries are going up,
Gas is going up.
And all these things are impacting your daily budget, your cash flow. It all comes down to your personal cash flow, right? So how do we kind of get over that hurdle, right? We got to get over this hurdle of, man, $2,600. Well, where you can get a little creative, and this is where your expertise comes in, right? You've got a client, and you need to be able to sit down with them, and maybe, I get involved in there too, and you kind of go, hey, let's approach this offer we're going to make, but we're going to do a little thing called a buy down, right?
Yep.
We're going to request from this seller, or it could be a builder, depending on who it is in the house you're looking at. You approach it from the standpoint of, hey, let's not reduce the price. Let's not go in and say, hey, the house I want to buy is $400, lower it to $380.
Okay.
You don't reduce the price. You go in and say, I'm going to offer $400, but I would like for you to give me, 10, $15,000 towards a interest rate buy down. And
Yeah,
so what that does, right, the builder or the net to the seller is, minus 15,000,
Yep.
right? But the purchase price was still the same. So their net actually is lower. Let's be real, right?
Yep.
But the power of that $15,000 to buy the rate down to a more affordable interest rate, now you can get people to be like, oh, my payment's not $2,600, it's maybe $2,400 or $2,350, right?
Which is more appealing, yeah.
It becomes more appealing, but there's more power in that $15,000 than even reducing the purchase price $50,000, right? So
that's a great point, yeah.
Yeah, because if you try to bring affordability into the scope of everything through reducing prices, it's not effective. It's the least effective way to do it. We heard about that last night, right? Yep. So, and again, when you walk in and you go, oh, by the way, you need to reduce your house $50,000 for me to feel okay with the payment or afford it, they're going to tell you, no, thank you.
Yeah, they're going to tend to tell you to kick rocks at that point.
Absolutely.
But it's not going to go over well.
But maybe they would move $15,000, and then you can be within the scope of all the rules that I'm up against when you buy down rates. It's all within, reason, and it meets Fannie and Freddie guidelines. Like we're not, we're not going beyond or asking too much, but it's a way for the seller to actually accommodate the buyer, and then they can actually close a transaction, right? So, and I say all that it sounds like all neat and tidy, but a lot of times those sellers are just like, I'm not going to give you $15,000.
No.
They're just like, my house is worth $400,000. Why would I give you $15,000? So,
because it's a mental game at that point too.
Yeah.
Because if they've already conceived and thought up how much their house is worth,
right?
We have to be sensitive to the fact that if they think that that's how much it's worth and that's what they want,
sure,
this is kind of a way to work around so that the buyer and seller both feel like they're benefiting from the transaction.
Sure. Right.
And it's kind of a win-win for you guys. So
yeah, but here's another way. You have actually two other ways to approach this that I've seen. So you can walk in, and you as the agent representing your buyer, you could walk in and say, hey, I'm going to offer you $415,000. Okay. But I need $15,000 in seller concessions. Now we're talking about they're going to get their $400,000 that they think their house is worth, but they're allowing you to make an offer higher and give it back to you to do just that, and that is to pay down or buy down the rate.
Which in the end is benefiting you as the buyer long term.
Now here comes, it's going to benefit long term for sure, right?
Oh, yeah, because everybody cares about that too.
Right. And playing this game of, let's speak to that really quick, playing this game of, hey, I'll do the interest rate right now. My payment will be $2,600 or $2,900. I'll refinance later. Man, that's a slow moving machine, and it's completely tied to inflation, which, by the way, is not going to go away anytime soon.
No, we would like it to.
Right, but it's going to be one of those things where, well, what if it takes 5 years for that to happen, or 6 or 7? What if you're deep into this loan at this higher interest rate and you were hoping for a new interest rate in 12 months or 2 years?
Yep.
And it doesn't come. Wow, now you're stuck, right? Well, if you buy the rate down, you're getting that benefit right away.
So
you don't have,
in a position where you're renting right now, or you're waiting to make your next move, possibly even living at home, the best part is that you don't have to feel like you're trapped anymore in the realm of, I can't afford this. I got to put this on hold for a couple more years.
Sure. Yeah.
So it's actually kind of good, great news, and it's so awesome too. And I think where the disconnect is that a lot of people don't understand. And as human beings, when we don't understand, that creates fear and all that. Yeah. So what we're here to do, you guys, is, me as the agent, and then Rick on the lending side, is literally hold your guys' hand and get you from a place of possibly like fear or fear of missing out, and kind of getting you guys in the ball game and allowing you the opportunities that you thought you might have missed out on, going back to 2020, 2021, even pre-COVID. We obviously have seen a lot of change because of that, and we had a lot of movement in the market. But to give you guys, peace of mind and let you guys know that there is still hope. And this is really what Rick's speaking to with this buy down. It's so nice to have that option still to be able to get you guys into your dream house and be able to afford the payment. So it's all around awesome.
And then before I forget, there's a third option that you can kind of if granted, you go in, you offer the 415 and they give you the 40. Now we're going to be pushing, can the house appraise for 415?
Yeah.
So you got to be
That's
careful.
always a big concern too.
Right. So what if it can't? What if you're like, there's going to be some concern there? Well, there's a little maneuvering you can do because you have an agent on your side.
Yep.
You have an agent on their side, and you got a seller and you got a buyer. Now, could the group of you come together and say, hey, why don't we offer 400,000? Well, no, let's offer 407,000 with only a $7,000 buy down credit. Oh, well, that's going to get you a little bit of that buy down benefit, right?
Yeah.
Well, what if the real estate agent says, you know what, I'll pony up an additional 2,000, and then the other agent ponies up another 2,000. And then the buyer comes to the table with another 2,000 or 3,000. You can get to that same 15,000, but you
get creative with it,
yes,
and mix it up a little bit,
and you spread. So it's not all one hit to just the seller, and it's not. Then you're not at a 407,000. You're probably going to have a better chance of getting appraised value on that.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
You try to, but as agents, you guys got to sit down with each other and make strategize.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, and I know. A lot of it is being able to now take your idea and communicate it clearly to your seller or your buyer to where they can digest it, to where they understand.
So be transparent, being just completely throwing it out there, seeing what they think. And that way there's no surprises.
Right.
Because the last thing you want when you're, buying or selling is that kink in the road that you weren't expecting.
Right. Well, and the thing too is, and I know we sat through the same presentation last night, and it's become very apparent to me that part of my conversation is I do talk a lot in financial terms, that I understand.
So like you guys kind of have to sometimes. So,
but you got to turn around and recognize that your client doesn't talk about this stuff every day.
Yeah.
So what are they really?
Average person, no.
Yeah. What are they tuning into? And I just got a chance to do that today. I had this gentleman that he's looking at a house. Price was $339. And I was like all doing my speak, doing all this stuff, and I stopped and I went, you know what he really wants to see? What's the difference in the payment?
Yep.
He just wants to see, okay, this is what it would be here. What's the difference if I do this here?
Yep.
And it was funny because I simplified my text. He got it right away. Thank you very much. Like,
That's
awesome.
You
didn't over talk.
Complicated or anything. Yeah.
But in my mind, I'm like, oh, he's got to want to know all these details. Turns out, not so much. Just get to the most important piece.
Well, because 9 times out of 10, what they're looking for is the monthly payment. Because let's face it, what do we constantly look at the end of the month is all of our bills, and the biggest bill typically is the mortgage.
Sure.
And so, first and foremost, they want to know that. They could kind of care less, not to say that it's not important, but they kind of care less about the other nitty-gritty stuff.
Sure.
You can get to that later. Just show me what my monthly payment is.
Right.
Kind of like when you go buy a car.
Right. And you got to realize, too, there's been some great ad campaigns out there that just drive this interest rate discussion.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm here to tell you, there's a behind the curtain that sometimes you're like, oh, by the way, give us a call, hit our little red button, and you're going to get a 5.99 interest rate, which looks fantastic today.
Yep. Sounds great. Looks great.
As soon as you get the sheet and you're like, it's going to cost you $25,000, right? Like you're like.
They just kind of neglect that part at the very beginning.
Right.
Kind of get you hooked.
They do the super fast talk over, the radio, like 1-800. So it's one of those things where to take the time and just be like, hey, I get it. You're going to want to know what the interest rate is. You just are. Be aware of that.
Yeah.
But how does it actually translate into that cash flow? Because you and I both know people are renting, right? And they're, well, hey, I'm renting for $2,000 a month. But if I do the rate buy down and do all these things and I find a beautiful home that's mine and my payment's even $2,200.
Well, and you're building equity.
You're going to build equity, but it's mine. Like personally for me, I rent, right?
Sense of ownership,
Yeah, and I sit there and I go, I would love to and do that and put a coat rack. And it's not mine.
And depending upon your landlord, of course, and the rules and regulations, I know that pets are a big factor for people
that's
too.
That's a huge one.
And so kind of not doing a deep dive into that, but just to kind of scratch the surface to go along with what you say. You have your deposit. Obviously, depending upon how big that deposit is,
Sure.
you always hear the horror stories of the holes in the walls or
and
the
not getting it
dings and the
back
nicks
and
and the
having
pet
to replace it.
deposit.
Yeah.
And with home ownership, it's awesome because, like Rick's saying, you have that sense of pride, that sense of ownership.
Sure.
And it's just a completely different kind of level up as far as what you're able to do. And, along with the sense of like the equity piece and everything else.
Sure.
So it's so awesome, you guys, that this option exists to still allow you to have this dream come true, essentially.
Right. Yeah. And again, it's nothing new.
Mm-hmm.
Rate buy downs have always been out there and available.
Kind of a thing, yeah.
I will tell you, in the past, people were paying for them themselves typically. And if you ever penciled out a rate buy down, it usually you had to stay in the home close to 13 to 15 years to have it actually become a benefit.
Which is a long time.
It's a long and the average person will either refinance or resell and go buy something else within 3 to 7 years.
Yep.
So to spend that money to buy your rate down that you're going to probably be out of in a short amount of time doesn't equate financially, right?
Doesn't make a lot of sense, no.
But now we're dealing with affordability.
Yep.
This is different. This is,
That's a game changer.
I can't get in. How are we going to get in? So here's a tool that the sellers are going to have to get on board with. They just are. And here's the thing, and everybody talks about inventories being low.
Mm-hmm.
And I get that. And that, maybe these sellers don't have to make, but man, if you're sitting on your house because no one can afford it.
Yeah, we're talking 30, 60 days on market.
Yeah, there's going to come a time where you got to get creative.
Yep.
Right? And you just got to say, hey, even though inventories are low, guess what?
We got to keep things moving.
Our buyer pool is even lower. Like it's the affordability. So again, it's not rocket science, but man, to be able to just sit down, and I think part of it too is we're very much visual learners. We're doing this podcast and we're chatting here. This is a great way to kind of educate yourself.
Yep.
But man, there's nothing better than sitting down with your agent or sitting down with your lender and look at it. Go, hey, how much money? Like I do this for people all the time because it's actually pretty quick.
Yeah.
But you say, all right, what do you make? What does your spouse make? All right, here's your gross, blah, blah, blah. And I do all the numbers and I go, here's your dollar amount that you can afford and get approved for. But
and have it visually laid out like that is everything.
Numbers, right? You can see it and you're like, burnt. And they're like, well, dude, look at that payment. That's a gnarly payment. And you're like, right. So here's the thing. Let's take it a step further and show them numbers, examples of, hey, if we buy the rate down to here, now look at the difference.
And where it was and where it now can be. Yeah.
Because I can throw out all kinds of scenarios right now, but that's why PowerPoints exist, right? So you can visually see, oh my gosh, that's a $253 difference, right?
Yeah.
And then you can.
Oh, it's huge, man.
Yeah. So I would just encourage you out there that sit down, make whoever you're working with, make them do the work.
Yeah.
Like, I have no problem having people come in and be like, let's go.
No, we're both very welcoming, very just transparent guys. We're here to help you guys. We're here to help. Basically, our job is to, help you guys succeed, help you understand how to get from point A to point Z, essentially.
Right.
There's a lot of things that go into transactions, but just the starting point, obviously, is to be able to sit down with the experts, talk it out, understand things. That's why, Rick and I work so closely together.
Yep.
As far as any house-related questions, seeing houses, anything house related, that's my field as far as expertise go. And then, I kind of kick things over to Rick on the lending side as far as these buy downs go, the nitty gritty. Because let's face it, you guys, things are always changing and things are always evolving.
Daily.
Especially, daily. And just you got to have the experts on your side. So once again, Rick and I are very passionate about what we do. We love helping everybody from first-time home buyers to if you're buying and selling for your third or fifth time.
Right.
It doesn't matter who you are. We just love helping people, and that's why we're doing this.
Yes. So reach out, let us know, and we're more than happy to help.
Yeah, and thank you guys for tuning in today. Expect a lot more content as far as these podcasts go from us. We have a lot of information that's very useful and very beneficial for you guys. And so make sure to like and subscribe. If you guys did love what you heard in the video today, please feel free to drop a comment below if you do want to find out more information. We're always happy to reach out to you and provide you with any additional information, whether it's just about the buy downs or just anything real estate related. We're always here to, once again, help and just want you guys to succeed. So once again, I'm Andrew Marshall with MHC Realty.
And I'm Rick.Gillespie with HomeBridge Financial.
Thank you guys, and have a good rest of your day. That was pretty awesome, man.
Dude, I got to tell you, the sound sounds great in these.